Hey everybody, XCI here. Welcome back to a blind Let's Play of Pokemon Leaf Green. Man, have I done a lot. There's a lot of glare on my face right now because I got a spreadsheet open on my second monitor where the one I use to record things. But I'm going to click off the game for a sec here, hold on. But I've done a lot of things. So I spent maybe 3 hours looking at all the relevant Pokemon inside this machine. By relevant, the caveat being the ones I thought were probably the best of, and I would compare them against other ones that were similar types. Like if I wanted a tank, I looked for the tanky ones. If I wanted a scrapper, I looked for the scrappy ones. And I'd had to do some clearing up of just the box. There's no definite order here. There's like the tabletop crew and characters from the game here. There's users. I'm still trying to find some users in here, so sorry if I missed you, but I got a lot of Nitterins and Nitterinos. I haven't worked through like which was to throw it. I know I need to trade some or whatever. I have to evolve one of these, for example. So I got some doubles. I don't need both of these. I got to clean this up. But anyways, so I started a third box. This is looking a lot cleaner now, right? And Pokemon are looking familiar. So what I did with this box is I first started with like the ones that I felt like these ones feel like staples. There's something about them that makes me want to always keep them. And if I look at their stats and I compare it with other Pokemon that are kind of like them, I never see them really match. Like these feel like good Pokemon. So you'll notice a new one in here, two new ones, the Tauros and the Snorlax. I'll talk about those in a sec. You'll see the HM slave here for the fly. Of course, it has to be Bloodwing. I'm not going to really invest too much here, and I'll talk about why these two are in the corner here. Although they're not going to be alphas anymore, which I thought for sure Gaspar was going to be in the main lineup. I can explain all of this now. Like I said, I spent 3 hours creating a matrix using a very quick way of basically turning all of the stats into, I'll use one as an example. Oops. Dang it. I didn't need to do that. Yes, I put them all in there just so I could think this through. Okay, so I think you've heard me talk about it, like just a really quick way, because my brain works and like it's easier for me to remember patterns than it is for me to focus on specific things. It's easier for me to like just remember patterns, like trigger memories. So what I would do is I look at the level and then I would look at the attributes. So I would look at attack and I'd go, that's about ×2. I would look at defense, that's about ×2. I look, you know what I'm saying? So I would figure it out by multiples. So I'm not thinking of 67, 62, 62, 71. I'm thinking 2, 2 point something, 2 point something, right? Just over 2. So I have that in my head, and then I would compare it up against another tank, and etc, etc, etc. So what this matrix does is I have roles that I've defined, and then I have these. I created a ratio, so it's just quick math. It's just, for example, attack over level. So 67 divided by 33, you get 2 points, something rather. It's in here anyway. So that way I would get a number like with a fraction that would be like a rating system for that particular stat. So then I could compare it against, on a relative scale, Pokemon that were different levels, because that's where, you know, it gets a little bit troublesome. Plus, I can totally see the pattern of if you get the Pokemon very young and then raise them through leveling. It's night and day, man. I compare like the Nitterin. I still have like one more evolution to get the Nidoking, but it doesn't look like it's gonna touch the Nidoqueen now, and that's because we were playing the Nidoqueen from the beginning of the game. So you'll notice a lot of the ones that end up staying in the lineup are because they have been played since the beginning of the game. And it takes quite a bit for Pokemon to come around and challenge that. It's just I found it very difficult to find a challenger. Okay, so let's just deposit this one. Store. Let's just put this back in the box. Let me go back in here now so we can talk about what this means. Just to be clear, this might not be, like, I don't know how much I'm going to play this episode. It's just because I just want this out of my head tonight so that way I can start fresh in a new session. But I don't think I'm even going to remember everything that I've been like thinking about. But I just wanted to get like a quick episode in. That's kind of, this is like the breather, because from here I believe I'm going to ramp through the rest of the game. I'll see if that holds true or not, but I feel it's true. Okay, so let me try to quickly explain what I have here. I read some people use the term sweeper in the comments. I always had sweep kickers in my head, but I made up that term since like for 20 years ago when I would play fighting games and my brother would just like sweep kick me in fighting games, and I hated that style because it's like I can't do anything. It's stun locks, like it's happened to me in Witcher, and that's all I complain about all the time. But it's a legitimate strategy if you can pull it off, and it definitely is one Pokemon. So if you can get into a fight and you can go first and you can hit hard and you got a good attack, the relevant attack based on the move, you're gonna wipe the opponent in one shot. And so I wanted to build a team that had sweepers, as you were calling them in the comments, so there'd be physical sweepers and special sweepers, and that would be to counter a Pokemon that, at least if I could remember it, and I've looked at a lot of Pokemon now, so maybe I will. And so what that means is that I would put a physical sweeper up against something that has a low physical defense, and I would put a special sweeper up against someone who has a low special defense. And generally it's like the big toughy brawny guys, tanky guys, because again I've collected a couple of the stats on a couple of the Pokemon I consider tanks. Almost all of them were bad special defense, and they were good just standard defense, like good hit points, good standard defense. But it was very rare case where you had something like a Lapras. A Lapras is special because it actually had a good special attack and a good special defense. So you actually have a tank that would go in, it's got a decent special defense as opposed to a defense, and then it has a special attack to hit with as opposed to a physical attack to hit with. So it's an interesting dynamic, which is why I kept them on the potential roster here, because I feel like there's a play there. There's a play like to put in a tank that like they can be slow, because your point with the tank, at least in my head now, the way I'm going to play tank is I'm just like, which is why Snorlax, you'll see I'm getting ahead of myself, is on the roster now, is because Snorlax has, I can't find anything with a ratio as high as Snorlax in hit points. Like he's at a 4.8 ratio right now. That's insane, like considering he's level 30. Like he's still got the like levels to get, and he's not like a light puncher either. Like he's a decent attacker, he's got a decent special defense, so he's good up against like the fire types, like anything that hits with like some of the energy, like the energy output powers. So I think water is in there, water, ice, yeah, grass, electric, anyways, psychic. So he's a great tank for that, which is why I'm almost definitely keeping him as an alpha, as a primary at this point. Okay, let's go yeah, I need to explain this because I need to explain the first row here. So okay, let's just go. This is, I tell you, it's gonna come out. Okay, so what I was missing here is I didn't really have physical sweepers on my set here. Man, I went through the fighters, I went through the Hitmonchan, I went through, did I wipe them? No, I went through the Mankey, I went through the Hitmonlee, sorry. I went through the Victory Bell, which is another special build. It's an intriguing build, but there's quite a few of them that are just intriguing builds. And if you build something very, like with HMs and TMs, you can really craft certain Pokemon in a way that can't really be easily predictable, which I think is cool, but not against AI. We're just gonna like push this with AI. So, okay. So what happened here is like the Gyarados is back on the force, and I will explain why. Because after I broke down all the numbers, I had the Gyarados down as a tank, because the Gyarados has a 3.5 ratio on this hit points. The 3.5 here is my second highest hit points, second highest, and it was behind Snorlax. So this is a huge tank, and in my head it was more like it could be an attacker. Where it was breaking down for me, this is like a little bit of a Pokemon vlog out of all things, because I'm explaining like after taking time to actually think, because that was part of the experience of playing the LP. But I'm glad I didn't do it while playing the LP, because if you've been on this channel long enough, if I'm playing, I'm not really thinking. My brain doesn't work those two ways. It's not bilateral. Is that what you call it? It's unilateral. It's one focused brain. So when I stop for 3 hours, I didn't expect to take 3 hours, but when I stop and do something like this, I'm hyper focusing now on just working on the numbers, creating these like patterns, figuring out these ratios, comparing ratios, and then part of it is subjective comparison, because to a certain degree, it's mostly objective because the ratio like speaks for themselves, but sometimes you're like, they're kind of close, but this guy ignores critical hits like the Lapras, where you're like, oh no, that's kind of significant. Or this one can't be hit by ground. Well, if you're going up against the ground, like that guy would get bumped. So there's like little things, or this one can't sleep, or this one. So there's little things. I love the abilities because they always have, like, that's the kind of stuff you bring into a fight and you really twist things around. Okay, so the thing with the Gyarados though, as well as having a high ratio of hit points, it has a phenomenal attack. It has one of the highest attacks. Let me just confirm this real quick. It's my highest attacker by ratio. So it's got a 2.9 score right now on its ratio on physical attacks. Where it was breaking down on me though is that I was looking for a water type power for the entire LP, right? But you don't want a water type power with a Gyarados. You want to get a normal power in there, like hyper beam, what's this thing called again? I didn't write this one down. You know what I'm talking about. Did I write it down? No, I didn't. It's the hyper beam, right? Anyways, so you want to get something that has an awesome, like a super high rating, because even with stab, and I think in a comment I took I could be wrong here, but I took that it's like a 1.5 bonus when your type matches the move you're going to use, and so I use that in the calculations for like the damage output. So that could be one of the objective kind of grading systems. But so at a 2.9, it's my strongest hitter. So if I could put something that was like a hyper beam that's 150 damage, it doesn't get stabbed, but it's 150 damage. You know what I mean? 150 damage with the highest attacking Pokemon right now on my force. So I think he's a solid bet to go in there. The other thing with him that I have not considered, but I really should, is he's water flying, and flying is a physical attack. And so if I could find the strongest flying move, because I don't even know where to look for this. Like, I don't think I've ever encountered a fly. Oh my god, Aerial. I had it in the tabletop. It was like the first power I took as a character. It was Aerial Ace or whatever. It's probably weak, but I know I have a TM that I could just put it on it, and I believe it's a flying type move. We'll check. But anyways, so I want to get a flying type move on him. But otherwise, I have Surf. I have Surf because Surf is a 95 damage. If it does 1.5, it's like because of water. It's 137 or so. And he can do it 15 times. So it's okay. But I want to do more than 137. Hyper Beam does 150 out the gate. It's not a stat power, but it does 150 out the gate. Now, if I can get Aerial Ace and it can do 100, I don't think it does. But you get my drift, right? Or it would have to do more than 95. So anything over 95 in the flying is what I would prefer. I need to get the water type moves off this guy as a primary attack. Okay, so he was a tank until I realized they didn't have a stronger physical attacker, and so I bumped him up to this row, which is the physical sweepers essentially. Same thing with Sandslash here. Sandslash was also a tank. He was in the same sort of grouping as a Snorlax, grouping who was physical tanks. So they could lay on the physical attack if they got the chance in, but because speed was not one of my measurements to compare against for tanks because of the roll. The roll needed to be the objective here. But being physical is that when they got their turn, they could lay on the hurt. But mostly it was could they have a high hit points and high defense or special defense, and then I would group them based on physical, like physical, or physical special. Okay, and so with the Sandslash, it has a decent ratio on the hit points. It has a 2.9 score, and it has on the defense a 2.4. So it's not bad. It's not very good on special defense though, so I can't have it go in against energy deliverers because it's gonna take a lot of damage. But it has an amazing attack as well. It's got a 2.5 ratio. It's my third toughest attacker. A Victory Bell being my second of all things because it makes no sense. I'll get to that in a second. But so what happened with Sandslash is that I had to move Sandslash up here, and so Sandslash when I restrict the comparison to these guys as their role, like if their role was to be a physical sweeper, then Gyarados wins by far over Sandslash. Not by far, because again, then it becomes, if I had the rounds to hit the curl or whatever that one's called, to boost my defense, hell yeah. I mean, easily Sandslash would destroy Gyarados, but you need rounds to pull that off, and I'm still looking. A sweeper roll is I want to get in there, and I want to attack something right away, and I want it to die. That's the mission here, the mission objective. And Twisted is not that bad. If I can get a ground power that can get stab, right now the highest I got is Dig. It does 60, it has 60 power, stab bonus 90. It's okay, but see, I need this to go over 100. But the attack is decent, so if it hits, it's gonna do some decent hurt, right? So I'm okay with it as being beta though. I don't think it's not a primary anymore. Unless it's conditional, unless the arena stuff requires a conditional. And then we have the special sweepers. Obviously Mr. Mime, and I think Mr. Mime has the advantage because it's so high level right now that it's outdoing everyone else. Because of all of these, the Jolteon is actually by the statistics here, is not going to get touched. With the special attack output of the score I have here is a 2.8 versus a Mr. Mime, which is a 2.4. So Jolteon wins that little competition, and it's also from a speed perspective, because remember, speed is what I want. I want to go first, and so same thing with up here. The biggest drawback with Sandslash is that it's slow. So that first round, even if I get the curl off, I gotta be lucky to get a curl off and not get trapped in some sort of like energy attack that takes a chunk of hit points off before I get my defense up. It's not fast. Gyarados is turning into just a very a primal force. I'm really enjoying the idea of Gyarados again. I needed to see the numbers because I was about to wash him away and just put a water to just put this guy with water on it and make him act like a sweeper, which he's not, because when you look at the numbers and you look at the patterns, it's a friggin' tank. It's a special tank, special condition tank. Okay, so Jolteon, super fast. I get an electric. I know that there's that electric power at the casino, which I purchased, so I'm going to put that on Jolteon. Boom, we're going to get ourselves a high-powered electric type move that's going to get stabbed. We're going to have high damage. Level this Jolteon up, and I think it would easily replace Mimian. I have Mimian in Alpha right now just because I feel like I just feel like the level is just too good to pass up, and we can just ramp with it. But I also feel like I probably need to put Jolteon in there just because I need to get the levels. So I'll talk about how I'm going to manage that in a second too. So Tauros, this one came out of nowhere. I need a drink. So the Tauros, I was determined to find out whether or not it was decent. I love the card personally because it's so simple. Same thing with Kangaskhan. I did a test on Kangaskhan. It didn't work out. I did one for Rhyhorn. I sort of wanted a Rhyhorn real bad, like Rocksteady. It didn't work out. They're when you compare them to the roles you're looking for, they don't work out. They might work out if you build them a certain way, but they weren't working out for what I needed them for. Whereas Tauros came out the gate. It was super high ratio on the HP, so the score is 3.1. So this is my first on record here. So Snorlax, the Gyarados, the Nidoqueen, and the Tauros becomes fourth. I tested about 30 Pokemon on these ratio scores. So Tauros is now in as the physical tank. That's the role it's going to fill. So basically, if I need a buffer, if I need to because I'm going to start pulling things in and out of combat based on the strategy. If I just need a buffer in there to take hits or just not even get hit, but if it takes hit, it can absorb that, and then I'm going to use that time to heal other Pokemon on the bench, you know what I mean, before putting them back in and then start sweeping again. So yes, there's a strategy now, folks. That's what the brain does when I hyper focus on a thing. So okay, so the other thing with the Tauros, we have, let's see, there's something else that was a significant high. So its defense it's my second highest defense, just plain defense. Special defense, not that good. It's not horrible, but it's not that good. So I gotta be careful with the special defense. And then the thing that makes it win for me is that if it can get a hit in, it's my fourth toughest attacker if I can get time in there. I looked at the moveset. The moveset was also, I think there were 2 or 3 moves. 2 of them for sure were flinch moves, which I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting move. Was it? No, it was Kangaskhan had the flinch moves, which I thought were really cool. So I forget what the moves are on Tauros, but I think as a normal type, you can put something like Hyper Beam in there, 150 with a stab. So you know what? It's a tank. It's not really in there to attack anyways, but it's gonna have 5 chances that if it has 1 round, it's gonna be doing 225 points of damage with stab bonus. So that's significant with a high attack. Gold. So it at least has some severe viability as an offensive force, even when it's the defender for the group. So Tauros stays. Same thing with Snorlax for different reasons. I have Snorlax set up as a physical output, so physical if it needs to attack, but it's a special tank. So if I have to go up against energy types, I put in the Snorlax. If I go up against the physical types, I put in the Tauros. So that's how it breaks down in my head, so it's easy for me to figure that out in play. You'll notice that the Nidoqueen has shifted down the ranks. I don't think it'll be a primary player anymore. I think there's things that do replace the Nidoqueen. The great advantage of the Nidoqueen is that it has its stats have a very solid average line. They're like just above average line, so there's nothing it's really weak against, and so it holds its own because it can sort of play that field in that middle ground, which is a solid strategy. But when I'm trying to focus on what it is I'm trying to do with what, it doesn't really line up anymore. There's another thing I realized once I broke everything down. I think it was the fact that let me just confirm this, is that it's the Nidoqueen. The Nidoqueen has, because all the stats are sort of average, the special attack's really high, and it being a poison ground type, why do I need the special attack to be high? It's just, and it's about the same as the normal attack, which is like, that's the one I need, but then it sort of takes a hit because there are other Pokemon out there that focus on being good physical attackers and not above average in both physical and special. And so because the power line up, for me to get a stat bonus on the Nidoqueen, I need to get poison or ground. Well, that leaves me the option of dig so far. That's the only one I know that there's probably something like I got hit with earthquakes, with magnitudes. I'm sure there's stuff that does more damage out there, but right now I've got dig. It's a 60 power thing. It gets you to 90. For 90, I'm like, well, no. And then it has the water type attack, which is a special attack, which works with Nidoran because it can do both physical and special pretty decent. And even if it doesn't get stat bonus, it's a pretty average, decent thing, but it's not precise. It's not a specific. It's not filling a specific role anymore, and so I feel like it's just become a beta. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Right now, I'm feeling like it doesn't hold up. I mean, what else does it? It holds up as a tank. Like, it has the hit points. It doesn't have the speed, so it's, you know. But it's proven itself. Like, it's out there, it gets hit, and then it hits back, and it generally can counter whatever it's up against because it has that good range. So it's got good hit points. So it's still a beta, but it's not going to go in the front lineup for now because I want to now level. I want to focus on leveling a primary troop that I can take into final game. That leaves us with the Lapras. This is like if I have a slot open, if it's conditional, if we go up against fire, for example. Obviously, I would prefer to have this over, I would say 35 at this point. It would be I would like a baseline of 35 for anything in this box. So I will have to take the Lapras out at some point, but we're going to go through an entire water area as far as I can tell on the map. And so I'm not going to take water because water, it doesn't make any sense. There's not really any leverage there. Let me confirm that so I'm not a liar here. Yeah, it's half damage. So you know what? Is ice? Does ice get a benefit on wire? No. So there's no reason for me to take Lapras into that because I'm never gonna get play with it. So I don't know what to do with Lapras. I want to level it, but I don't want it to use up a slot right now because I want to have a solid troop, and I think I would rather have 4 sweepers and the Tauros and Snorlax. That's literally what I'm thinking. That's the team I'm thinking of. Or I flip in a Ghastly. So let's go to this lineup here. The Victory Bell. The interesting thing with the Victory Bell that I broke down is that, okay, so it's a gas poison dual type, and where this breaks down for me, and again, when I write things down, it makes its total sense. So first of all, its ability sort of sucks. I don't really know what it means. I'm assuming because I have this power at tabletop called Sunny Day, and I think we just saw it. We saw it in the game. But Sunny Day is you could just you make fire powers get a buff or something like that. So it does. It gets faster in the sunshine. So I'm guessing some Pokemon drop Sunny Day. You put in a Victory Bell, and now it's fast, and now it can do better. The problem here is that the stat bonus on both of its types of Grass and Poison is tied to special attacks, which it is not good at. It's the weakest of the attacks it has. It's actually good. It's actually because it's a 2.0 score, so it's actually good. But the attack is a 2.6 score, which it's a better physical attacker. But you know what I mean? Like, there's no way to get a physical type on Grass or Poison unless, I don't know, there's something I'm missing in the game. So it sort of like gimps itself because it's never gonna really get the stat bonus in play. but it probably has a bunch of like cool conditional things, like putting things to sleep, poisoning things, and all that stuff. And I get it. There's ways to build this, but you get what I'm saying? I'm not trying to build special cases. I'm trying to build very streamlined, very specific objective cases so I can move through this. That's what this vlog is about. I want to explain this once, and then I'm just gonna go. And I hope you guys just refer to this if you're looking back to even prove me wrong or something. So the next one here is the Gasper. Same thing, man. I'm like, God, I wanted this one so bad, and I still might play it because it has Curse. I think Curse is amazing. I just realized, though, while doing this, why Psychic was so powerful on Gasper, because it's good at special attack. It's got a really good special attack, but a really low physical attack. By really good, I mean it's a score of 2.6 on its special attack and a score of 1.3 on its physical, but it's a Ghost Poison, and Ghost Poison are physical. I can't really get a stab on a Ghost and Poison type move. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, I could, but it's meaningless. What I'm saying is that a standard Psychic attack, I think it does 90. So even at 90, I'm like, I don't really, I haven't seen a Poison type. I might have seen 40s that get you to 60, like I've seen 15s. But the Ghost one, I didn't write the Ghost one down either, the Ghost Power. But again, I think it's like 40 for Ghost, so that gets you to 60. So just a normal Psychic Blast at 90 is like, well, it's already well over the stab bonus power. So anyways, but the Curse is amazing because that stacked on other debilitating power effects are, it's good, it's good stuff. So, that said, let's start pulling them out. I'm going to withdraw Gyarados. Yeah, Pimpcat's still in there because he makes money, and I still need money. I don't need a lot of money now because after doing this, I'm like, I know exactly what powers I'm after here, and if I could just get the powers I need, for example, I don't need to get, like, I would get the Shadow Punch because I'm assuming that's the big Ghost power, but I'm like, why do I need it? I have a Ghost Pokemon that isn't really good at with stab bonus with the Ghost power, so who, I mean, it sort of, because maybe if it does, like, over, or and point is, maybe I don't have to chase things down. Maybe I don't. I'm going to take out, I'm going to get, what am I up against? Well, I'm going through the water. Jolteon for sure in water. Let's level the hell out of that. Even with fishing, man. Take that. Take him fishing. I have to take Charmeleon. Did I even talk about Charmeleon? I don't think I did. I mean, there's nothing much to say outside of... because he's just your starter. You gotta take your starter. But to be honest, Jolteon beats him in every single way. So it's like, this would have been one of those moments where I go, nah, I'm just not gonna take it. A 3, man, there's nothing faster than the Jolteon on my list right now. 3 is the fastest Pokemon I got. So Jolteon is like primary. He's the Alpha Speedster. So there's that. And then but where it does do good is in the damage. So where Charmeleon wins, where the others don't really win yet. I mean, sure, like there might be powers out there that do get the stat bonus and blah 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 blah, maybe. But right now with Flamethrower, because I just got that from the casino, it's a 95 and a stab, but 137, and then I could do that 15 times, which is also a significant point because like something like Hyper Beam that you can do 5 times. This one you can do 15 times, so you got like more scope. You know what I mean? And then it ups fire moves with Pinch, which I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm assuming that it's a buff. It's some sort of buff. Let's bring out the Tauros, and let's bring out the Snorlax. So we got 2 tanks, and that's it. And I will eventually maybe bring out Twisted again, Mr. Mime, and Nidoqueen, and Lapras, like for sure, because they're great. Because I'm gonna move. Pimpcat's not gonna stay on the team forever. But what did I think I need? What town? Because I was moving around too. I don't even know town. And then I went back to the casino area just to see the prices of things.